So welcome to week 5 onboarding. And just a reminder that next week we'll have a call just to simply celebrate, talk about your wins. So, okay, so here we go. I'm curious to hear from all of you. For some of you, you have to think back a little, but what part of the onboarding system, helping new consultants get started, holds you back from adding people to your team? Does it hold you back? Or did it hold you back?
I don't have confidence that I can lead them successfully.
I think I used to feel bad that Janelle's going to have to train my people. I don't want to put more work on her. That's the way I felt. Yeah.
So I shouldn't have volunteered to do that.
Right? Okay.
What did you say? What part of onboarding do we dread? Or do we?
Yeah, just like what part of onboarding systems hold you back from actually adding people to your team, like growing your team?
I think just the fear of not knowing enough and not feeling successful enough to help someone else be successful. It's not really anything with the systems or the leadership part for me. It's just my own, kind of like what Kayla said, my lack of confidence in myself and my ability, mostly just as a Pampered Chef consultant in general.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so funny because you're one of the top people. and when you think about that the other night, right, those signs, that's everybody. So I don't know. I think that might be like over 500 people.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, something to keep thinking about, keep that mulling in your head while we now talk about, okay, your successes for this past week. What went well? Give me your Wow Wednesday. Whoop, whoop. What's been great? I need you to brag about yourself. Anybody? Anything?
I asked everyone, literally everyone. My host has a party with 60 plus members in the party, plus we've just put some generic because there are people following that haven't joined, and she invited like 450 people. So I put a lot of what I feel like were good asks in the party, as well as messages and texts and phone calls. Didn't really get much, but I did the asking.
That's perfect. Hey, but sometimes it's the practice, and then it will come with the follow-up.
You never know what seeds you planted. I had 3 cancellations and I didn't get pissed off. Literally. Two lives. 2 lives and or maybe 3 lives. Yeah, 3 lives. I have 4 February live parties. 3 of them canceled. Yay! There's going to be a blizzard. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. I think that's hard when, that's over half of your lives, especially. If in the grand scheme of things of your overall party schedule, it might not be so much. But, yeah.
I have a Wow Wednesday.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Kayla talked about how she invited people to introduce themselves. And sometimes I have that in my template, but I didn't have it in this one. So I wasn't doing it and I didn't realize it wasn't happening. So after she said that, I intentionally went out and hit that, write a post and welcome all the new guests right before the actual party starts rolling. And I told them to share how they knew their host and something they like cooking. My phone blew up last night after I did it. It was insane. And they were having fun and talking. And I'm like, wow, I got more excited too. So I don't know. That's definitely, thank you for the tip, Kayla, because that's, I guess, I wasn't being real intentional about that. And that makes a world of difference.
Yeah, I think even me, I was relooking at how I respond to people when they do introduce themselves.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I kind of robot it. Like I just do what I normally do. And I'm like, how can I make this better? So some of it was still robot-y and some of it was a little bit more intentional, but building those relationships really helped.
I started messaging the ones who were like, I love to cook, and going on and on. I started messaging them right away about the business. So it was just, I don't know, really fun. I feel like if it's just a post, there's not as much interaction, but if it's tagging everybody in it, they actually see it. I like that. I'm using that more. I'm usually welcoming them, but I'm not halfway through the party saying, say how you know them. But.
Yep. Anybody else want to share a wow or a wahoo from last week?
So I started in November and I had my launch party then. And then December I had 2 parties. First half of January, nothing. And then the last half of January, I had 6 parties. And it was kind of overwhelming, but it was really exciting at the same time. So that was pretty exciting. And now I have 4 for this month. And yeah, 1 for April. And yeah, lots of people interested. So it's been kind of an exciting but busy time.
That's awesome. And just keep going while you're getting the bookings. Just, use that positive stuff to go so you don't ever get down.
Yeah. I like not having to just reach out and ask people. It's nice to, the last couple trainings were, on booking parties off of parties. And that's been super helpful because I hate just messaging people and asking for a party. So that's been really awesome.
I always say asking from the party is like a warm call versus a cold call.
Yeah.
They're already thinking about it. They know you're going to ask. They know it's your job to ask. They're ready for it most of the time.
Yay, Ellie. Woohoo! I'm so excited for you.
Thanks. Yeah, that $100 giveaway box was a huge help. So thank you.
Yeah, I got to put that on my calendar to draw for that.
Yeah.
I feel like I probably better wait and do it almost on the 15th because I let people do really late January parties. Would you guys agree, those that did the $100 thing?
Yeah, I'm waiting till about almost the 18th or 20th because I have some people's parties starting the 16th. That was the last date they could start a party, was like the mid-month.
Yeah, I did mine for my team. I did all in January, so I gotta make sure I draw. Okay, love hearing from you guys. It's so fun.
Anybody else? Okay, well, we'll just keep going. So again, just be thinking about, you guys, mentioned some really great fears with the idea of what's so scary about the whole onboarding and helping new consultants, right? Like, why do we get nervous about that part? And then we go, I don't want to add anybody because I don't want to put more work on my director, or I don't know it all. Keep in mind, none of us know it all. Like literally none of us. Or what Jess said too, right? It's all Googleable. Like you can Google almost anything. We have so many great resources. Or think about your 8-to-5 job if you have one. Do you know it all? Do you sometimes have to ask someone else for help or go and look something up? You know exactly where to look it up, but you don't know the answer. You can't just spit out the answer. You have to maybe look into something a little bit closer or do a little research. That's okay. Our new consultants, I think, understand that as well. Plus, we need to help give them the confidence to add people right away too, and to do this system with us. If we act like we know it all, they're going to be scared just like we are. We don't, and that's okay. Okay, so I think the biggest thing when it comes to starting off with helping your new consultants get going and onboarding is you have to kind of give them a reason to listen to you. So if you don't know these numbers yet, go ask Janelle, ask me, ask your director. Look, and we can help you guys. But the first thing is know your party average. If you have a $600 party average, $800 party average, that's a great reason to listen to you. Because you know what you're doing. You're doing your parties well. Okay, that's a great reason. And even if you don't have that party average, I guarantee you your director probably might have a pretty high average. Well, we'll find somebody that does and be like, okay, well, Janelle trained me. And I can say that because she did. But like, Janelle trained me to have these really great parties. So you should want to listen to what I have to say, because the company average, my average might be 632, but the company average is 450. So our team knows what we're doing. So I, just advise you to listen. Or you can use the organization average of like 520, or that's my personal organization average. So find out what those numbers are. And that's a great way to help them give a reason to listen to you. Like, I know what I'm talking about, right? So don't just go off and do your own thing. Like, I'm here to help you. So it's kind of a do what I tell you versus doing your own thing. Okay, we're smart ladies, okay? We know this stuff. We got it down. But then also ask them, say like, hey, I'm going to ask you to stretch yourself as you learn and as you book parties. We always talk about this. You've probably heard this before, the airplane analogy, right? Like, to get off the runway, you use more fuel than landing, right? So when you get off that runway and you go, you have to, man, you better start boogieing, and you have to go hard and strong. So that's why I'm going to ask you to do more than maybe what you're thinking right away. But after you get up in the air and you're coasting, then you can decide what altitude you want to be at. Do you want to keep the altitude I gave you? Do you want to go a little bit higher? Maybe you want to slow it down a little bit. And then you land to where you want to go. When it comes to landing an airplane, it's basically like safe crash landing. You barely use any fuel. Okay? And so even think about that. I always say, even think about that with your own business. If you're ever in a slump, get back on the airplane and get going. But again, you got to go hard and fast. Doesn't matter where you are in your business, but it's much easier to get going and then stay where you're at. That's always a really good analogy to do. And sometimes I think it's hard to think about, but I tell them to go for 3 to 4 bookings each week. That's a stretch, and that's okay. But again, if they get 2 to 3 bookings each week, even though they may not hit that, that's okay. They're going for the stars, but they land on the moon. I do that with myself. I try to overbook what I would really want, right? If I'm going for 16 parties in a month, but I hit 14 or 12, I'm still pretty satisfied. Maybe I didn't quite hit what I was reaching for, but I still landed on the moon. So just those kind of different analogies to help them. And don't be afraid. I always say, like, wow, I've got big goals myself that scare me. I want them to be able to understand they're not alone in some of these their goals. Like, it does seem scary or stretchy, but you're not the only one doing scary, stretchy goals. Okay. And then it's important to help them know specific dates on when to book, right? Sometimes I will simply say, okay, I'll have them do the exact same thing I'm doing. My parties start on Sundays now. I just transitioned over. So I'm going to have them also start their parties on Sundays for now. If after a month or two they want to switch it to a different day of the week, great. But they're going to run the parties the same time I do. So I will tell them, some that just started a couple days ago, they were to book parties on the 9th and the 16th. They got 2 dates, and I wanted them to book 3 to 4 parties each of those dates. That was their goal. They got 2 and 2. So far, they're not done. So just giving them those 2 dates, especially because I always tell them, book that night first. Try to book those first, but if not, offer the 16th then. Gives them kind of a second backup for those that don't want to book right away, but still gets them on their calendars very soon. That's just going to really help them start off with confidence, right? When they book that many parties right away, they're going to have confidence. They're going to have a nice first paycheck. They're going to start hitting those rewards right away. All those product rewards. That's going to get them hopefully enough people to start practicing asking about the business and hopefully get their first person get the $100 cash just to get all those rewards.
Carrie, can I say something?
Yeah.
So I'm one who, like, that is a huge struggle for me to, like, push them in the beginning because I am hesitant. Like, I don't want to scare them off. I don't want to, it's their business, obviously. So they can do what they want, like that type of thing. And while you were talking, I was just thinking like, oh my gosh, if I just tell them these things, think about the decisions they don't have to make. Because when you're starting, like you have lots of, it's overwhelming. And so it almost like takes it off their plate as far as like the stress, because then you're just giving them these specific directions and most likely they're just going to do it. And I don't know why, but that's the first time that has hit me. So
Well, that's good.
thanks.
Yeah.
And you know what? You know, another thing, I remember hearing this, and I think this advice has been given to teachers before, but they gave this advice to us as Sunday school teachers. And they said, you know, start out really strict. You can always back off, but you can't get stricter. You know what I mean? So it's
Don't
almost
smile
like,
till Thanksgiving.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
what they say.
So it's almost it's similar in a different way. I think they're going to tell you if, hopefully, they're going to tell you if they're overwhelmed. Like we did have somebody. I was just thinking, Joni. I was thinking of Melissa. You know, we got on that second call, and she had froze in her tracks. She was so afraid and almost quit. And it was probably because we did. She was very agreeable and very excited. And so we went on with the, you know, I always say you're going to work our way up to 4. But you know, 4 is what really successful consultants will do. They'll run these parties at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it freaked her out. So we can always back off. But you can't say, oh shit, you're really a go-getter. And so I said you only, you know, should do 2 a week, but you really should do 4 a week. You know, it's harder. It's harder to go the other direction, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like saying, like you don't have very good high hopes for them or good confidence if you only say 2 and they'd be like, oh, by the way, actually you should do 4. Actually, I didn't realize you were that great. Like, yeah, kind of weird to do. But yeah, I just think it's good to start off that way. They don't know any different. They have no idea whether I'm running 1 party a week or 4 parties a week myself. I'm not going to tell them I'm running 6 parties a week. Like that will probably scare the pants off of them maybe. Like, sometimes I will, just to let them know, like, it's possible, it's what I do, but I don't recommend it starting out. But that's something you can work to achieve if that's something you want. So depends on how you lay that out. But yeah, I just think they don't know any different. Why wouldn't we want to try to help them succeed right away out of the gate, get that first great paycheck, get those rewards right away, and then they go, oh, that was great. Yeah, let's keep doing that. Or go, that was great, but that was a lot. I think I'm just going to tone it down a little bit. And that's okay. But then it gives them the idea like, okay, your paycheck obviously won't be as big, but if you're okay with that, that's fine. But if you're like, dude, let's go for it, this is fun, then let's keep it going. You know, they can kind of decide from there. It's easier to back off, you know, like we were saying, than go up. So then I think that's really, and I'm not going to quite divide these out into different calls, but that's a good chunk sometimes of your first call. Sometimes you're getting to know them too, as well. And I'll show you guys something here in a second too, but with this. But the other thing I usually check in with them, I usually don't do this until like a second call, is just make sure they have the basics, right? Some of this I am doing just on the side, right? Not necessarily during a call, but just make sure they have their bank account information set up, their direct deposit. Make sure they're signed up for Visly. They've been added to our groups. They know how to start setting up templates. They know how to set up a Facebook group and set up the party, all the little details, you know, and sometimes I do that. You can do that right on a Zoom call. Walk them through it. Have them share their screen. It's a little bit to learn right away, but they can definitely do that too. It's super important. The first call, even, I go over those fast track rewards. I just brief on them, and then I talk about them again, because sometimes it's hard to remember. There's so much going on. So it's good to keep that in front of them too. And I tell them when they get their kit, post that darn fast track game board Candyland rewards up on their fridge or somewhere in their bathroom mirror. So it's super fun. I'm like, it's like a game. It's so much fun. Just kind of fill in the squares as you go. And then, you know, and I just point it out. So that board is really exciting. Now something I am going to show you guys as well. If you have not used this yet, okay, let's see here, sorry. Okay, so this is, it's loading, sorry. Oh boy. Never mind. Dash is not working. So in Dash, there is the fast track success system. In this fast track success system, and I will tell you guys, I'm still learning this myself. So you don't have to be perfect at this. But I look at it, it talks about what to say on their welcome call. It tells them, hey, have them do these tasks in Dash before this call. So I will say, hey, we're going to have a call. When works, I set that up. I say, okay, great. Before that call, why don't you check out Dash? They're just some really basic things for you to kind of check out. It has them do things like their why, helps them figure out their why, helps them with their launch list and all of that. So those things are done ahead of time. I don't have to ask the basic questions. I can just simply expand on their why. Like, oh, it sounds like this is what you are wanting. And maybe help them explore a little bit more, depends on what they put. If sometimes they just like, yeah, I just want to make money. If they don't get specific on their why, be like, you can then ask them more detailed questions. If you don't mind me asking, how much money would you like to make per month? Help them dream a little bit even. And that's kind of hard at first. So they're probably not going to dream real big yet, but just get them thinking a little bit more maybe. Simply, you could even just ask them like, okay, what would that do for you and your family? If they say, I want to make $500 a month, great. What would that do? What if I could help you? If you're going to be doing 3 parties a week, you have a high chance you'll probably make over $1,000. What would that do for you and your family? Just expand it a little bit. You might have to break down those numbers a little better. I'm just shooting the breeze right now a little bit, but to really figure out, okay, would they make 1,000 or maybe they'll make 1,500 actually. They're doing 2 parties a week.
Have you found that you can get them to dream bigger when you tell them your story? Like, I think the new Dash outlines it that before you ask them what they want to make, you actually say, let me tell you a little bit about my journey.
And I do tell them about my story. And I feel like that does help.
Yeah.
Because then they're like, oh, wow, you did that with Pampered Chef? Okay, yeah, I guess I can do more than just $200 a month,
Because they always want to go so low, like
mm-hmm.
just 100 or 200. And I think, really? No, you want to make more than that. But that's helped a little bit. And I've noticed like in their Dash, they'll put that 200 or they'll put that low ball. And then when I ask them, and I know that in the back of my mind, I just don't tell them. And now if I tell the story, then they go like 500 to 1,000. I'm like, oh, well, that changed since she filled out Dash. Again, that's all happening in my head.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes I don't necessarily point out like, hey, I saw this, that you did this and this on Dash, but I will, I don't necessarily point out that I saw what they put in Dash, but I just kind of address it a little bit like, hey, like this is my story. And sometimes I just ask the question without them saying anything and be like, awesome. So I sometimes will bring it up like, oh, it sounds like you really wanted to pay off some debt and things like that. So I'll kind of bring it up that way sometimes, but they're probably sometimes like, where did you get that information? Usually I've talked to them enough that I typically kind of know, but I think when it comes to some of the trainings too, if you are recruiting a ton and you're like in October, we had so many new people. It's super important still, I think, to make that first call very personal. Just do a one-on-one call. If after that, the second call is not quite as personal, again, you're talking about some of the basics, different things like that, that's okay to do a group call. I mean, if you've got 5 new people, right? Because we're all awesome. We are team builders. Your group call might just be a little bit better for your schedule. I don't care whether you're working or not working full-time 8 to 5 job. It takes a lot of time. So like a group call is just fine. Nothing wrong with that. One of the other things I've recently learned, and I've really thought about this anyways, but to pair 2 new consultants that might have opposite skills. So you might not do this right away because, you're trying to figure out their skills, but to even look at someone that is really good. Some people come out of the gate and they book like crazy and they're amazing at their bookings, right? But then you have other people who are maybe really good at the whole template thing or maybe really good. Their show average is really great. So you have someone that's a booking crazy nutso, and you have someone who has a good sales average, but this one's not so great at booking, and this one kind of has low dud parties. These two might need to talk, because this one needs help with booking, this one needs help with the higher party average. Okay, so just pair them up together even. And I think sometimes we need to do that too. I've really thought about that with some of the other programs we're in, or even now. If you're in this director bound group right now, we've got the group to talk chat. Maybe put it out there. Where you're struggling. There probably is someone that's having great success. Like if you're struggling with bookings, maybe put it out there. Who's having a really good time at bookings right now? What are you doing? And vice versa. Someone, look at your sales average. Maybe go for a goal to make that $100 more than what it was last year. We just got done with a year, so take a peek. What was it for you last year? What was your average? If it was 400, let's shoot for 500. If it was 500, let's shoot for 600. Let's bump that up. If there was someone, really good at recruiting this past year, or maybe you were good at recruiting, but none of your consultants were qualifying. So find someone that was good at qualifying those consultants. And then maybe you'll help them on how to recruit. Just use each other. Find someone with those opposite skills, because we're not all the same, which is great. So find someone with those opposite skills. And remember, you don't have to know it all. Again, we ask questions, or even with the whole new Dash training that they have with Fast Track, I stumble through it sometimes. I'm not perfect at that system yet at all. It's still a new system. I'm learning, but it gives you a really great outline. It gives you even words to say if your new person is struggling and well, I didn't get any bookings. Okay, well, here's what to say to them. Dash gives you the words to say. It's the best script ever without having to keep a script on your computer, if that makes sense. So, okay. What questions do you have? What ahas? What scares you? What everything?
Okay, so for me, I am having I'm due March 4th, so baby coming sometime, and it's number 2, so it'll be, an adjustment to having multiple. And I do, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and that's definitely first priority, so I don't really want to add more work and then fail people or take away from baby time, but yeah, will be super important.
Yeah, and that's when you ask for help, and that's okay. I remember going through that not long ago, just a year and a half ago, but I remember booking I was due the end of November, and I booked the beginning of November like crazy, and I still would ask people, and then I took a couple weeks off after having baby. I booked no parties. I'm no, this is me and baby time, but you also have a lot of time where I feel you're on your phone, because if you plan to nurse or not, but you're just sitting there kind of.
Yeah.
Sometimes I milked in the moments and I just sat there, but then sometimes, with a phone too. I know it's a little different with the second one, but because you have another kid around hanging out. But even get them involved maybe somehow. I know that's a young age to get a little one involved, but even just say, Mommy's going to make some phone calls to make money, or I don't know, make it a game somehow.
Okay.
I think one thing.
Yeah, go ahead, Kayla.
Sorry, I was just going to say, one thing I heard you say is that you're failing them. And remember that they're adults, right? Working their business, and you're there to be their resource and to help them, but you're not there to run their business for them. So, and just like what Carrie said, if they, especially right after baby, we all understand you can reach out to any of us to help that person with their issues, and that's, yeah, we're there to do that. So,
and And I've even done it before. We're like, hey, I'm having a baby. I'm going to be here as much as I can, but really try to use those group pages, like our team pages. They're going to be a great resource. And then whoever your director is, like, just say, hey, this is my director, and she's going to be a really great help while I'm getting no sleep, whatever. Like, just be upfront with them. I think that really helps.
I think for me, Kayla hit it on the nose with that too, and Janelle's been reminding me of it, that it's not my business, it's their business, and I'm here to support them. And that's been just a really helpful reminder to me that I'm kind of their coach. I'm here to help them along the way, but they have to want it to be successful. I can't dream it and do it for them. So I can share the business, I can share the excitement, and that's my job, is to continue to and I've told you all, I'm the world's biggest cheerleader, but is to kind of cheer them along and lead them and guide them and answer questions. But I can't do it. I can't book their parties. I can't run their shows. I can teach them how to do it themselves, but I can't do it for them. And so thank you for reminding me of that again, Kayla.
Mm-hmm.
And there are situations out there where people join a team that's not all that supportive. They don't have a really strong structure yet. Maybe they're young or whatever, and they can still survive. I think back to when I started. They didn't come with you to do your first live show. They didn't hold your hand. You just did it, and there wasn't a lot of online support. I think the Dash now, if someone has a little bit of initiative, they really can do it without anything. But giving them those numbers for support, Ellie, like if make sure they have your recruiter's number, make sure they have my number, just give them our phone numbers and say, I might not be as responsive as I've been because if I need sleep, I need sleep, but here, these guys are happy to help you, and we are. So
Well, thank you so much. That's really helpful. And yeah, good reminder. Yeah, they are adults, so it is their business.
Mm-hmm.
Don't shy away from, like, if you get a really hot lead in one of your parties and you're like, oh, my water's about to break, I can't recruit anybody. Don't worry about that. We'll just do a handoff. It's no problem. No problem. I'll go have your baby for you and you can train them. Just kidding.
All right.
I think there's been people that have recruited people while in the hospital. Like, their mindset, they're recruiting the nurses that are helping them, basically, like, or booking parties with people. I've heard of that before, and I'm like, wow, you guys, it's all just in their mind. It's at the top of their mind. They said, I'm doing this, I'm going for it, and it's constantly there. And I'm just like, I need that attitude. Like, I need to have it right here. Or right here. Like, I can't see past it. So, anything else? Any other ahas, questions, or fears? I think the biggest thing sometimes too, no matter what piece of your business you're talking about, but especially this part too, just do it scared. It's our job to ask. It's our job to, give them at least the resources. I think sometimes we train them probably better than other people. We really hold their hands, but we could simply say, like, Janelle was saying, like, okay, here you go. There's the Dash. Read all about it. Figure it out yourself. Goodbye. Like, we could be that way, and that's okay. That's the basic, but we're giving them extra support by doing maybe some one-on-one calls, or you're texting them and cheering them on. Like, I would consider that's extra support, but that's good extra support too, to help them be successful, to help you. Well, not, you know what I mean? Like, you also be successful. So, but it is about them. It's about helping them. And it's easier to help them when you have that mindset too. All right, so let's get people aboard and onboard them. Whoop, whoop, toot, toot. So my action plans for this week, guys, are super simple. Simply continue to make your contacts, right? The more people you contact, the better practice you get with reaching out. Watch for the red flags in your parties as you add people to your team. And if you've already finished the Wisdom of Oz And if you haven't, I'd suggest picking that book up. Otherwise, pick up another professional book up. There's a lot of great books out there. If you need suggestions, ask us. We got a ton of suggestions we could probably make. So just pick up. Leaders are always reading. And I don't like to read, so just do it. Too bad. So
the wisdom of Oz, if you, and we kind of pulled this out really late, and I don't think we gave you a lot of warning about it, but so some of you may have gotten it and then maybe not gotten through it, but let's try to stick with it maybe the next round, because 2 chapters a week isn't that bad. And I've read this before, but I will read it again when we go through. I mean, I love reading this kind of stuff. This is all about staying above the line. And if you can have a growth mindset, it is going to make a huge difference in your business. You're not a victim. You know, you're in control. You're accountable for your life. And I love this book. I want to put one plug in for next week. I know we don't really have an agenda for next week, but we have a celebration next week. And what I'd like you to be thinking about is, what are you getting, right? I want to hear the high points. Like, what did you really like about this series? Because we changed it up a little bit. And then I'd really love to hear, what are we missing? Is there anything that you would like us to see spend a little more time on? Or are there any gaps that you need help with? Because we can tailor this. We're our own, we're using a little bit of an outline, but a lot of this, and kudos to my leaders, because they have done a freaking fabulous job. I think I'm getting stuff out of every single week. I absolutely love coming to these. I don't get out of bed this early, people. And I was up a half an hour early and already did part of my workout. So I can't wait to come and hear what they have to say. So, but we would love to hear the feedback. And I think constructive stuff is great. Okay. I don't even like to call it, it's not